Welcome back to another episode of the Tech Talks Daily podcast, where every day we explore the cutting edge of technology and its implications for business and society at large. I'm your host, Neil C. Hughes, and today we're going to be delving into the complex world of cybersecurity, a field that has never been more critical as we navigate through an era of digital transformation and increasing amount of breaches. And joining me today is David Torgerson, VP of Technology and Security at Lucid Software. And he's going to be sharing his insights on the evolving landscape of cyber threats, the pivotal role of communication in cybersecurity, which is a subject very close to my heart, and also how AI is helping shape the future of this vital sector. Because if we look back to last year, I think companies face significant cybersecurity challenges, from sophisticated phishing attacks to ransomware, with the common denominator often being just a breakdown in communication. So I've invited David on to discuss how clear, effective communication within organisations is not just beneficial, but essential for cybersecurity. And we'll also touch on the expected shift in cyber attacks this year. We've already seen in January the mother of all breaches set a harrowing precedent with 26 billion records leaked. And there was also a cyber hack that exposed 750 million Indian telecom users, not to mention the Bank of America breach. There's so much going on in this field. But there's going to be, especially because financial gain is now the prominent motive for attackers. And another question I want to explore is AI a double-edged sword in cybersecurity, serving both as a tool for attackers and a powerful ally for defence strategies? But as we do look ahead, David's going to provide valuable insights into how companies can adopt AI securely, also emphasise the importance of freeing up human talent. This is a good thing. So let's dive into a conversation that promises to be both enlightening and thought-provoking. But before we get today's guest on, I need to pay the bills. We've got a huge podcast hosting fee to pay for when we're releasing 30 episodes a month. And this month, I've partnered with a company called Kiteworks. Now, legacy MFT tools are dated and lack the security that today's remote workforce demands. So companies that continue relying on outdated technology, though, they put their sensitive data at risk. Well, enter Kiteworks, the beacon of security and efficiency in managed file transfer. And Kiteworks isn't just any MFT solution. With its FedRAMP moderate authorization awarded by the Department of Defense since 2017, Kiteworks sets a new standard for security. And this certification is not just a badge, it's a promise of unparalleled protection for your data. So please, step into the future of managed file transfer with Kiteworks. You can find out more information at kiteworks.com to get started. That's kiteworks.com to get you started today. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Arkansas, where David is waiting to join us today. So a massive warm welcome to the show, David. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
I am thrilled to be here on a Friday morning. I am the VP of Technology and Security here at Lucid Software. I am responsible for really all internal technology, which includes our financial systems all the way to our go-to-market systems. I have been at Lucid for about 11 years and I've been able to be part of the growth of 20 people in the office with really scrappy systems to the product that we have today, and it's absolutely been a blast.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on here. Over the years, I think we've had a few people from Lucid on here. One was Brian Stallings. Is he still there?
He is. Brian and I work together fairly regularly. We're not in the same department, but yeah, Brian's a great guy.
Awesome. Well, it's a pleasure to have you join me today. And just to set the scene for our conversation, can you just explain the main communication barriers companies faced last year regarding cybersecurity, and why really clear communication is so vital in this context?
That's a great question. And in order to really answer that, there's an important component that I think is important to call out. So
yeah,
one of the challenges that organizations face today is that communication is difficult. And what I mean by that is, depending on your background, a given phrase or a given word is going to carry different meaning. For example, if I'm talking to my networking team and I say termination, they're going to think network traffic termination, SSL termination, routers, switches, etc. They're just going to think about that. If I say termination to my people ops team, they have a different emotional reaction to that phrase. To answer your question, why that matters in security, when we start talking about risk, or we start talking about breach, or attack, or phishing, those words carry different meaning to my legal team, or to my security team, or to individuals. And the goal that I have is to try to get everybody on the same page in understanding what it is we're trying to accomplish. For those that are less familiar with those attacks, demystifying what a phishing attack means. For individuals in security, helping them recognize that while something might be super secure, we still have to run a successful business. And, sometimes those protections are at odds with the actual solutions that we put in place. To further answer your question, what's different about last year to this year? The attacks are more sophisticated than they have ever been, especially with the introduction of AI and large language models. The ability to do emotional impersonation of urgency from the attacker's perspective has greatly increased, which means that it is more important than ever to help employees really understand the risk and the goal of what it is we're trying to protect and how we intend to protect it.
And I'm so glad you brought up the communication part of this, because it's something that's often missed. And traditionally, there has been a few arguments around whether the board understood the business value. I think that is changing. The sheer number of breaches we've already seen in 2024 is quite alarming. We had the mother of all breaches, something like 26 billion affected there. And then also we've got that annual compliance that many organisations force every employee from every department to go through. But hey, they just hit next until they get the compliance tick, and then they forget about it for another 12 months. So how can organisations better align their cybersecurity strategies with the overall business goals? Anything you're seeing around this?
Well, so this is my opinion, but my opinion is that it's really difficult to prove the value of security training. You're absolutely correct. People get through it as quickly as possible because they have work that they need to do. And the compliance and security training is preventing them from getting to the work that they need to do. Compliance and security training is often boring. Like, I understand what it is, and I don't leave thinking, man, that was awesome, I want to do it again. So, A, it's boring, nobody wants to do it. B, just because somebody goes through it doesn't guarantee that they're not going to fall victim to an attack. And if you add that up, you could say, well, it's because the training wasn't valuable. Maybe not. You could also say, well, the phishing attack was just way more sophisticated than the training was prepared for. Maybe not. What I want to focus on, and what we have been focusing on here at Lucid, is instead of teaching people exactly what to look for in a sophisticated phishing attack, which would require years and years of expertise, what we focus on is what are the processes that you can follow when you get a request for information to make sure that the request is valid. And that includes not sending sensitive content through email, always sharing the content through a different mechanism, validating requests that are for information of a higher criticality level. Meaning, have you checked with your manager to make sure that the request is valid? Have you actually checked with the CFO through internal communication that they want a list of all of our customer information? Things like that, those processes enable employees to have the guardrails where they don't have to be experts in identifying a malicious AI-generated phishing attack. Instead, they can have some simple rules that they just follow, and if they follow those, it eliminates the possibility for a lot of those attacks to be successful.
Completely agree with you. And we mentioned the mother of all breaches attack in January, the scale of that. And towards the end of last year, there was, of course, the Move IT breach impacting, I think it was something like 60 million users or 62 million users, 2,000 organizations, a cost of something like $10 billion, which is just phenomenal. And when you highlight that, along with recent cyber breaches and the financial and operational stakes, etc., we're seeing more and more sophisticated phishing and cloud account takeovers, all illustrating the complexity of some of these cyber attacks. So with the evolution of all this, alongside ransomware tactics, what steps can companies take to maybe better protect themselves against these increasingly sophisticated attacks? Because they're actually on the increase, they're not on the decline, right?
Absolutely. And I'm not sure if you have seen the attack that somebody used an actual video call with AI-generated person that resulted in a loss of like $23 million to one company. Wow. So the attacks are for sure becoming more sophisticated, more difficult to protect against. One of the important things to call out is I live in Arkansas. You don't have to know where that is, but what's important about it is there's a lot of windy, curvy roads, and the speed limits are fairly high here. So you can be going 55 miles an hour and then hit a very sharp turn. There are very few signs that say sharp turn ahead. I've thought about that, and I don't know if this is the official answer or not, but let's say that they put a sign on 9 of the 10 sharp turns. The likelihood that people would run off the road on that 10th turn is very high because they're used to seeing a pattern of what is safe. The reason I mentioned that, organizations should absolutely put in their phishing protection software. They should absolutely put in their DLP protection software. They should put in these components and these industry standard tools. The problem is, what if a phishing attack or a ransomware attack makes it through those? There's an inverse training that we're doing subconsciously with employees of teaching them, if it's in your inbox, it's safe. Yeah. And that is where things get really dangerous. So I am of the firm belief that you, like table stakes, you have to have those tools. But if you're communicating to your employees that you have those tools for their safety, we got to be really careful about what that's actually conveying. Yeah. The real message we want employees to hear is validate everything because things are going to get through.
Yeah, such a great point, a great analogy to bring it to life as well. And we might break a record here because I think we're going close to 15 minutes without mentioning AI on a tech podcast. But I'm going to go in there now. I've got to ask, how do you see AI transforming the field of cybersecurity in the months ahead? It's so much talk and hype around it at the moment, but what are the potential benefits and risks? Because it seems a bit of a melting pot right now.
AI is an amplification of capacity, meaning if somebody is a absolute stellar employee and they have access to AI, it's probably not going to make them a better employee. What it's probably going to do is let them get to the end result faster. Yeah. Because they understand what good looks like, they can get to good faster. The same's true of a mediocre employee or a poor employee. It probably is just going to help them get there faster. The way that I see AI impacting the industry today, and this isn't even future state, this is just today, is a lot of our cybersecurity tools are leveraging AI to be smarter and better about catching the types of attacks that it used to be difficult to identify. So, for example, on a simple phishing attack, you might have a role that protects against email coming in from an outside source if it has an executive name in it. So if it's a David Torgerson coming through, a really easy way to bypass that would just be to misspell my name. Yeah. And old tools that are just dependent on regex to look for some keywords or some hot topics can be easily bypassed by, misspellings. And what AI is enabling those cyber protection companies to do is to be a little bit smarter, to look at the misspellings without having to explicitly write out every permutation of a misspelling of my name, to flag that as potentially suspicious. The inverse of that is also true. The attackers are using that to become more and more sophisticated, especially around driving to the urgency of emotion. People make mistakes when they start going too fast and they're in panic mode and they feel like they're under pressure. And nobody wants to displease their boss. Nobody wants to displease their CEO. Attackers know that. That's what they feed off of. That urgency is where that can come from. And one of the things that the attackers can do is if they could get an employee to just respond to an initial email, they can take that response and say, AI, what was the emotional state of the person that wrote this? How do you think they responded? Respond to them in a way that increases that sense of urgency. So it's no longer one and done. With AI and with this automation, they're able to iterate very quickly and really prey on those emotions. So I think that AI is helping our cybersecurity platforms increase in capability, but just as fast, the attacks are also increasing in that complexity and that capability.
If we look back a few years ago, there were so many companies and startups just putting blockchain on the end of everything. That was the big buzzword. That's what everyone was talking about. Even if you didn't have blockchain, they called themselves a blockchain company. And it feels like we're almost heading into the same territory here because everyone's excited about AI, and a lot of startups and a lot of businesses are using the words AI when they don't have AI at all. That's a topic for a whole other conversation there. But I'm conscious when so many businesses want to adopt AI in their cybersecurity strategies and doing it securely, they're going to be bombarded by so many different companies with so many different claims. So what would your recommendations be for any company looking to adopt AI in their cybersecurity strategy?
AI is a tool, and just like any tool, there are some great ways to use it, and then there's some dangerous ways to use it. Protecting your internal data is paramount when selecting any AI tool or any AI functionality. A very common attack is to trick AI tools into giving you data that has been input by a different company. And if you think about the type of data that employees are probably putting in AI tools, even if they're not authorized, it's going to be reports that they just want spell check and grammar correction on. It's going to be performance reviews. It's going to be messages that they want to send to their boss asking for a raise. Like, it's going to be information that is a gold mine for reconnaissance if you're trying to create an emotional response to a message. So how do you protect yourself against that? You make sure that the AI tools that you are using or that your vendors are using do not train on any of the data that you provide. You make sure that those organizations are properly handling your data correctly, period. That those employees don't have access to your data because maybe those employees are creating a response to you and they'll put that response in AI. Like, there's so many ways that data could leak. The benefits of using it responsibly, though, it's an incredibly powerful tool. Just something as simple as in Lucid, we can use AI to help identify what type of shapes are going to be on this diagram. So instead of a user having to hunt for those, we can just bring those to the forefront based off of the patterns that we understand around when people are creating diagrams. There's some really cool things that can come from it. And again, going back to my previous statement, I think that it enables employees to get to the solution faster. But there's certainly risk there. And if that risk isn't balanced, you should just avoid it. If it is balanced, great outcomes can happen.
And at two other ends of the spectrum, when we're talking about AI and people, especially in the world of cybersecurity, on one end of the scale, we've got the huge cybersecurity skill shortage. So people need their cybersecurity teams to be incredibly focused. And on the other side, there's this fear that AI is going to come and take away people's jobs. So can you discuss how AI can actually free up some of those resources in cybersecurity and the types of solution it enables cybersecurity professionals to focus on that maybe offer more value doing that?
That is a scary question to answer, because as soon as I answer it, there's going to be half the listeners that are completely divided. Yep. But I'm just going to forge forward. I hope AI takes away the work that people think is their job.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, if I look at employees at Lucid only. And I look at different teams whose entire purpose today is to fix data errors that are introduced because of data inconsistencies. They don't enjoy that type of work. They don't enjoy the interactions that they have when other employees are like, hey, this data is incorrect. Can you fix it? I hope that work goes away. And the reason I hope that is at Lucid, we only hire really capable people. And we can put that to a computer that doesn't care. And then we can take our employees that we hired to actually provide innovation, and they can start providing that innovation and that value and that self-growth, etc. So I don't see AI removing jobs, at least at most companies. What I do see is let's throw all the crap work that nobody likes about their job anyway to AI.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Work that sucks, get rid of it and get it out of here. We can all do stuff that we enjoy. And there's so many human skills that technology can't replace, like creativity, innovation, strategy, management. There's so much that we would be better focused on. And for any business leader listening, maybe we're setting off a few light bulb moments in our conversation today. Maybe that leader wants to improve their organization's cybersecurity posture. To give them a powerful takeaway, what key principles should they be keeping in mind this year?
We are in an accelerated arms race. AI has greatly accelerated the security and productivity arms race. It is more important than ever to make sure that our processes enable employees to do the right thing easier.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to do work harder. So if we can make it easy for employees to do the right thing, they're going to follow that. By implementing verification processes that just happen across all requests that are cross-department, out of org, etc., we can likely eliminate most, if not all, phishing attacks that people are falling victim to today. Which means that there's going to be more and more sophisticated attacks that we'll have to protect against tomorrow. But today, a lot of the protections that we can implement that are going to be most effective is just by having really solid established processes.
And I think that's a powerful moment to end on today. But obviously, cybersecurity is a very serious subject. But we are recording this on Friday, so I'm going to try and have a little bit of fun with you now and ask you to leave everyone listening with the funniest or most interesting story that you've had in your career, because I suspect out there on the cybersecurity battlefield, you've picked up more than a few stories along the way. Some good, some bad, some just amusing, some you'll be able to share, some you won't. But is there a story you'll be able to share today?
I think I can share this one. I'm not going to mention company names, but if you look at my background, you can probably figure everything out. But at a previous organization, I was working for a company, and this company was actually managing DNS for the United States' largest banks, the largest automakers and distributors in the United States, and other organizations that were of equal size across the United States and really across the world. A coworker and I were making a change to the servers that were running those DNS, and we were following the processes exactly what the vendor described, and it deleted all of the DNS records for all of those companies. So if you were part of that and impacted, it would have been years ago, and an entire organization would have disappeared from the internet. The solution that we were using was all built in. So the backups were part of that solution, and this vendor had a bug and it deleted everything. Okay. That was a pivotal moment in my career. I wasn't the lead on it. I was more junior at the time, but I was certainly part of it. And the reason I say it was pivotal is I'm sure that everybody can appreciate the panic that instantly set in when you realize what just happened. Yeah. And I remember the more senior person, he stood up and said, "I've got to go to the bathroom." And then he ran away, and I was just sitting there. And when he came back, and it was only like a minute, when he came back, he was calm, he was collected. He called up the vendor and said, "This is what happened." My first reaction was, we've got to restart. We've got to get it back. We've got to do this. But he had the foresight, take a step back, this is bad. Don't make it worse.
Yeah.
We called the vendor. They had their moment of panic. And then when they calmed down, they said, okay, the running state of this one server is going to have everything we need. And we worked with them for the next hour and a half to extract all of the data and then recreate the records. Like we had an hour and a half of downtime. And you can imagine the phone calls that were coming in during that. But we were able to recover everything.
Wow.
I learned years ago, it is important to take a step back, to not make decisions based off of emotion, to make sure that you're thinking clearly. And, I've harped a lot on process, but the reason is if I had instantly acted based off of emotion, everything would have been gone. We were one command away from losing and not being able to recover any of that data. So, that's a pivotal moment in my career that's kind of shaped a lot of the decisions that I make.
What an amazing story. And you are talking to an ex-change manager. So as soon as you started your sentence with, I was working on a change, I thought, oh no, here we go. What about backups, rollback plans, etc.? But a great story. I absolutely love it. That's one that will stay with me long after we finish this podcast today. But anyone listening, just wanting to find out more about Lucid, though, and exploring some of the topics we talked about today, where would you like to point everyone listening if they want to contact you, your team, or just find out more information?
Absolutely. So our website, lucid.co, we create visual collaboration software. And if you're not familiar, think Google Docs meets Visio. But even beyond that, the ability to have a virtual whiteboard and being able to collaborate and communicate across your teams, especially in a hybrid or fully remote environment, that's how I diagram all of our processes. Like I'm talking about processes. I'm a visual thinker, a visual learner. We diagram out those processes so that it's easy for people to consume.
Well, I've absolutely loved chatting with you today. We talked about so much there, from how companies can expect attackers to increasingly focus on more attacks for money. Phishing and ransomware will continue to be tactics that will have to change to result to financial gain. And with AI attackers, would they be able to create more advanced phishing attacks that are far more personal, time relevant and time sensitive? I've just loved hearing more about what we can expect this year and how we can counteract some of those bad guys. And also, why we shouldn't be afraid of AI. Use AI as a friend to cybersecurity. It can improve mundane and routine tasks or even get rid of them completely. But more than anything, just thank you for sharing that and finishing with that amazing story as well. Thanks for joining me today, David.
Excellent. That was a blast. Thank you.
I think today we uncovered the importance of clear communication within organisations to effectively combat cybersecurity threats. The changing landscape of cyber attacks with a heightened focus on financial gain and the transformative role of AI in both enhancing and challenging those cybersecurity measures, all top of mind. But communication has got to be key here. And David's insights reminded me that the battle against cyber threats, technology is just not enough on its own. It's the human element, our ability to communicate, innovate, strategize. These are the things that truly make a difference. And by leveraging AI to automate routine tasks, maybe we can then empower cybersecurity professionals to focus on some of those more strategic initiatives, improving the overall security posture of organisations in the process. And yes, adopting AI securely requires a balanced approach, especially if we're going to be protecting internal data while harnessing AI's potential to bolster our defences against these attacks. But I think David's experiences from overcoming significant challenges like accidentally deleting critical DNS records to implementing processes that simplify secure behaviours serve as valuable lessons for all of us. But hey, that's just my takeaways, having sat and had a great conversation with David with a few laughs along the way. But over to you, as we all continue to explore the role of technology, how it's shaping our world, let's keep our conversations going. How will your organisation navigate these challenges and opportunities presented by AI and security? This is where I put the microphone in front of you. Share your thoughts by emailing me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, @NeilCHughes. Nice and easy to get hold of. But that's it for today's episode. But I do invite you to join me again tomorrow for another episode of Tech Talks Daily, where we'll try and bring you more insights into the ever-evolving landscape of technology and its impact on our life, business, world, and everything in between. But until then, stay curious, stay informed, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible, and we'll speak again tomorrow.